In 2002, I think, I was suffering very severe abdominal stomach pains. I went into a hospital in the Bronx, New York, where after blood tests they told me I had pancreatitis. And this pancreatitis has come from my alcohol abuse, my alcoholism. I'm a recovering alcoholic. The doctor there asked me, how much do I drink? I says, oh, a wee bit now and again. She says, why are you lying to me? And she just walked off. But anyway, she must have spoken to the nurse. The nurse started giving me morphine for my pain. He was talking to me about how pancreatitis comes from alcohol abuse. Anyway, he was giving me the morphine, but the morphine reacted strongly to me, badly. So when they took me up to the ward, I started jumping from bed to bed. With people on these beds, I started jumping from bed to bed to bed to bed, telling them to let me go, let me go. I got a hold of this phone and I rang 911. I told them I had been kidnapped, and they asked me where. I couldn't remember the name of the hospital, but I wasn't being kidnapped. I was off my head from alcohol withdrawal, the symptoms of pancreatitis and morphine. There was a wee orderly or security guard there. He was running beside me with his hands and fists like that, like he was just about to, attack me, use this for an opportunity to get aggressive, because he was going like that there, and I knew he was just dying to have a go. I woke up in bed the next morning. I was handcuffed to the bed. My wrists were handcuffed to the bed. My ankles were handcuffed to the bed also. Because of the pancreatitis, I wasn't allowed to drink anything or eat anything. And as the days went on, I started to lose weight. The only thing I was allowed to consume was ice chips, and I could suck on them, and the only place I could get them was down the corridor by the nurse's station. There was a machine you could put out the ice chips, and I would suck on them. One day I was going out to the ice machine, and I caught a glimpse of the new man that was in the bed next to me. He was behind a curtain, so I couldn't see him, he couldn't see me. But when I walked past the curtain, I caught a glimpse of him. And I walked out onto the corridor, and I could see these blood footprints, like somebody had bloody feet. And these footprints continued all the way down past the nurse's station and right to the exit. I thought, why didn't they put this person with the sores on his feet in a wheelchair and just wheel him in? But for some reason, the footprints led right up to my door, my room. And I thought, Jesus. Then I went on down to the ice chips, came back up, followed the bloody feet, looking down at them, seen them right go into my room. And as I walked in, I caught another glimpse of him, and I could see he was in a bad state. Dirty, emaciated. I walked on to my room. There's a gap between the curtain and the floor. I could see his feet. He was wearing socks, but whatever was going on with his feet, he had no skin on his feet, and the ooze had come through in the socks and layered a crust over the sock, so it looked like his feet were really thick, but it was the ooze coming from his feet. His feet were that damaged that it created a coating, like a hard shell on his socks, because it was coming through the ooze, and it was actually rotten. I could smell it was like his feet were dead. I could smell them rotten. The same thing was happening to his legs. It was slowly creeping up his legs, the rotten flesh. Like he was dying slowly. I got a few chances to just glance at him again. He was gaunt. His eyes were sunken in his head. His head was all cuts, swollen eyes, broken teeth, and the smell of him, it was unnatural. It smelled like he hadn't been washed in years. And when he walked, he created these blood footprints the whole way down. And I soon realised why the nurses didn't want to touch him. That's why the footprints went all the way up the corridor, because they didn't want to put him in a wheelchair. They didn't want to touch him. As time went on anyway, I seen a nurse coming in with a tray full of cream and automatic and bandages and that. The nurse put them down on his bed, I could see in the corner, and she walked out. There was no way this nurse was going to touch him. They were wanting him to clean his wounds, to put the new plasters on, to put the new dressings on himself, whereas you would expect the nurse to do that. but the nurses weren't going to touch him, worked around me easily, but they weren't going to touch him because and I looked at him, his legs were all scabs and they were all raw flesh, and God knows what his feet was like, but they gave him everything, they weren't going to touch him, and that's why they didn't put him in a wheelchair to bring him into the room. At the very tip of the sock, I could see a bit of raw flesh where he had obviously, or someone had tried to start to pull the sock down, but it was tearing away at all the flesh, so he can't take these socks off. I would say he hadn't had these socks off in years, and any time he tried to remove them, they were just going to move all the flesh from his feet. That's why all the crust was on top of it. You couldn't take the socks off. It was going to totally cause absolute, complete and utter chaos with his feet. I caught eye contact with him one time, and I shouldn't have. From then on, I paid $5 a day to get to watch the TV. It was behind a cage, so you couldn't steal it. I paid $5 for that, and anything I turned over, he started laughing, and I knew he's laughing at me. He's laughing at what I'm watching. But anyway, at night, I would turn the TV off and the nurse would come in and say, night, night, you want your nighttime tablets? And anything I said, he would laugh, like in and out. He would laugh like that, as if I'm the joke here. And he would laugh, like that there. And I was getting more scared of him as the days and hours went on. There was just a curtain between me and this man. And I don't like it. It got to the stage where I'm thinking, can I safely lie and fall asleep beside this man where I'll be vulnerable and he can do anything he wants to me? There was a couple of nights where I woke and I found him standing at the edge of my bed. The first thing I noticed was the smell of him, his breath, and just his overall body. There's no way the nurses were going to wash him because it means they would have had to touch him. They brought in cream and bandages, but they left him at the edge of the bed. And I could hear him putting on the cream, and he was crying in pain. I could hear the way he's putting on the plasters, and I could hear him crying in pain. I could hear him lifting his leg to put the bandages on, and he was in pain. In the morning, they would come in with a basin, hand it to me, with cloths and soap. I would wash myself. They brought him nothing. No cleaning. He wasn't given the opportunity to clean himself. They must have known he wouldn't clean himself. Maybe he's been in there before and they knew his history. But I thought, give it a go, give it a try and wash him. The day came then when I walked down, I woke up and I went down to get ice chips. I wasn't going to look at him because it was past that. But I looked and he was gone. The bed was, all the sheets had been ripped off and everything, he was gone. I'm not going to lie to you, I'm glad he was gone. And to be honest, I don't care what happened to him. I just wanted him gone. But I always wonder about him. About the horrible life he must have led. And when you go into a hospital, you would at least expect to be cared for, and he wasn't. On dark nights, or whenever I find myself doing nothing, sometimes I think about him and wonder what he's doing now. But that's 20 odd years, more than 20 years ago, he must be dead. What life did he have anyway? But I got out of there, thankfully, and it took me years then to stop drinking. I'm 12 years off alcohol now, and it turned out okay for me. But I don't think it turned out all right for him. Who ever cared for him? Did the universe ever once turn and smile in his direction? I doubt it. You really don't know. I really don't know how lucky I am. Some people have really wretched lives. From the minute they were born to the minute they die. Wretched.